With this presentation, I would like to give you a survey on the professionals, and I would like to give you the results of the survey that we did with the professionals working with multilingual families. The results have been obtained in the whole project with all the project partners, and at Eurac Research in Bolzano, Italy, we have worked together, that is Sabrina Colombo, Maria Stopfner and me, Dana Enge, in order to put all the results together and to give you an overview of that. This is the program for this talk, this presentation. First, I would like to talk a little bit about the survey methodology, the questionnaire and the interview design. Later, I come to analysis and the results of the study. And as you can see, we have 5 key points. We have selected these 5 key areas. The professionals, who were the professionals that we worked with, the language use with the multilingual families, from the perspective of the professionals, emotions related to language use, factors affecting language use, and also what it is like working with multilingual families. And afterwards I'm going to give you a summary and give you also some points for further discussion. Some words about the methodology. So we used a questionnaire and we also used interviews in order to come to a deeper insight of what the professionals are doing with multilingual families, their needs, and also what their background is. The questionnaire had closed, semi-open and open questions and consisted of 50 items. And the expert interview we did with a semi-structured guide. Both tools were adapted to the linguistic context of each project partner's region, and they were translated in the different languages of the project. And with the questionnaire, we surveyed the demographic data, the professional biography, the current area of work. And both with questionnaire and interviews, we got deeper into the contents of the professional work with multilingual families, how they assess important issues of multilingual families, and we also did a potentials and needs analysis. I'll come to that later. So who are our professionals that we work with? They were mostly female participants, the majority of them being between 25 and 44 years old. Most of them had a university education, mostly bachelor or master. They had a wide linguistic repertoire and a good knowledge of language acquisition, and the majority of them were working for non-profit organizations. The typical areas of work were education for children and adolescents, but as you can see here, there were also other areas, for example, educational assistance, the field of speech and language impairment, social services in general, public authorities responsible for migrants, and other fields. As I said, the professionals have a wide linguistic repertoire, so here you have the selection of the languages they indicated as their first languages, and they reach from Latin to French, Bosnian, Romanian, West Flemish, Polish, and many other languages. We also asked about their second languages they learned later in life or parallel to their first language. And here you have the repertoire of Greek, German, Arabic, English, Bulgarian, Dutch, Spanish, and so on and so on. So there's a wide repertoire and a lot of expertise already on the languages among the professionals. Now I come to the second key area of our results, that's language use within multilingual families. We asked the professionals to indicate whether they agree or not agree with certain statements. And the statements either refer to the parents or the children or both of them. Here we have an example for a result that concerns the parents, and the statement was, parents influence the language choice at home. As you can see in the graph, most of the professionals, the overwhelming majority, agreed or strongly agreed with this statement. And it's true, as we know, parents are the first and the key educators of languages at home, and the decisions about the family language policy are taken by the parents, but are most often unconsciously taken by them. So this means when parents are unsure of whether to introduce a language or to keep up a language in the family language policy might also change over time because it's not so stable. And we also have this situation, what professionals often call situational separation. So that means parents will switch languages from situation to situation. They might use a language at dinner, another language at bedtime, and even another language when they go out and meet friends, for example. And the family language policy, as you know, depends also on the individual family. If we look at the children now, the statement here was the important statement: children influence the language choice at home. The majority of the professionals neither agreed nor disagreed with the statement, with a slight tendency to disagree. And we have contrasting opinions here among the professionals. A great part of the professionals stated that no, children do not influence the parents. But another part of them, also a great part, said no, children, they bring the target language into the home, so again, there might be an influence here. It's true they bring the target language into the home once they start going to school and learning it there, the language of the environment, for example. And through that, children push their family to use or to practice the target language. And of course, it's not a real policy that the children are following, but professionals observe that something is changing as soon as the children enter school. Yes, there are many crucial moments for the family language policy. And the professionals, again, neither agreed nor disagreed with the statement that children agree with their parents on how languages should be dealt with in the family. So this is, again, a very ambiguous view. So if children and parents do not hold the same views on language choice, language use, it might be a probable source of frustration. So this is one of the core topics of the project that we found out. Once again, another look on the language use. On parents, there was a strong agreement with the statement, parents find it difficult to manage the language practices within the family, which kind of summarizes what we have said before. And as professionals see many families, many parents struggling with language practice management within the family, we also found out in the later course of the interviews, they need working methods and tools for giving them guidance and advice in their work. As language choices affect the whole family and all members' well-being, it's very important to keep these issues in mind. And discussions on language choice and use are closely connected to emotions, which we will also see later. Okay, we move on to the next area then. There are emotions related to language use. We asked the professionals to agree or disagree with another statement. This is, parents often show negative emotions, negative attitudes towards the family's first languages. And it was very surprising to us that most of the professionals agreed with the statement. Here you see that 33 strongly agreed and 30 agreed. And this was a surprise because parents, as I said, they are the stakeholders of the family language policy, but if they show negative emotions to a first language, this will be even harder to keep up in the family, I would say. So this is also a field where professionals have to put a special emphasis on. Again, we have an overview of emotions related to language use, this time also connected to the parents. And you can see a long list of positive emotions, but an even longer list of negative emotions connected to language use, to these special situations. And the emotions the professionals named were, in the positive case, satisfaction and intimacy within the family, deeper relations, sense of achievement, happiness and pride, which are all very good and very useful, of course, in order to motivate children to use the language. But then parents also experience a lot of frustration, problems in communication, feelings of uselessness of a special language, insecurity, lack of pride, sense of loss of identity, and also stress. So there are very, very strong emotions connected to this. And it's very important to look at this at a second moment. If we look at the children connected to emotions related to language use, then professionals neither agreed nor probably disagreed with the statement that children often show negative emotions towards the family's first language. So here's a different picture, and this is connected to the first language. If you look at the results connected to the second language in the families, it's exactly the same. Yeah? So here we have the same picture. So there's a tendency of professionals agreeing with the statement that children show negative emotions, negative attitudes, but it's not as clear as with the parents. Let's now look at the list of emotions connected to language use for the children. Here you have long lists on both sides, some positive and negative emotions. And there are coming in some new ideas also. So for the children we have, for example, a feeling of competence, of integration, a feeling of encouragement and interest, which are things that are more in a motivational spectrum. And on the negative side of emotions, we have also an embarrassment or shame, shyness to speak a language, a certain sadness that maybe one is not being able to speak a language. Also the desire to be normal, the unfulfilled desire to be normal, not to stand out. But also things that are parallel with the parents, so insecurity, frustration, and also stress. So again, this is a very important field for the professionals, because they deal with these emotions, whether they are really expressed or not expressed, in everyday discussions with the families. Right. And if we look at these two statements, they are clearly outlining the picture again. So professionals neither agree nor disagree with the statement that parents are afraid that their children will not learn their first language sufficiently. So it depends on the family, one might say. While they also have the tendency to agree more with the fact that children find their first languages less important than their parents. But again, it's a very mixed picture. And you have to bear in mind that it also depends on each family. Okay, the next area is factors affecting language choice and use. While for parents it's very important, from the view of the professionals, to preserve their tradition, their family tradition, as connected to the languages, and also connected to factors relating to migration, education, religion, and economic factors of the family. For children, it's a complete different picture. They are more oriented towards their friends and peers, social media, school, skills, and also, as I said before, the desire to integrate, the desire to be normal. So they are very different factors, and that's why it's probably often very, very hard for parents and children to come together on this issue of language choice and language use in the family, because they have different motives and different motivations for choosing and using a language. And this is very, very important to the professionals also to reflect together with the families, because if you're not talking about the same things, then it will be very difficult to come to a solution. Right. Now we come to the last focus of the results I'm going to talk about, and this is working with multilingual families. So here we get to the core of the professionals' work. Now they're not rating any statements anymore, but they were really talking about themselves, how they work and why they do the things they do, and also what they need in their future work. In general, you can say then that when meeting with multilingual families, professionals most often use informal talk in their counseling with direct or indirect questions. They see a very strong importance of respecting the individual case, the individuality of every family, and they are trying to reflect each family's individual situation. They are going to explore the stories together with the family, understand their migration context, understand the context of integration, and this of course needs time for each family. The professionals also named key attitudes that they need for this. They have to be open, non-judgmental, encouraging, emphatic, and interested. So this holds also true when you're using a tool or when you're only doing a discussion with a family. This is just the basis, basically. When they observe the families, they observe family dynamics, they observe individual family members, and of course they observe the language use, language habits when the families come to them. We also had examples for special strategies that professionals are using in their work with families. This might be involving fathers more in the process, because as you know, usually it's said to be the mother that is a key actor in the family language policy. But fathers have sometimes a difficult stand, but a very important stand in that. And some professionals said that they are especially paying attention to the parents' educational background, because this is where you start. When the parents have the background and experience for learning languages, for example, it's much easier than to pass this on to children, and others maybe need a little bit more help on that. In general, our professionals feel competent and prepared for working with multilingual families. However, they would welcome additional training possibilities, and I will talk about this in a moment. What we found very interesting is that professionals encounter a wide variety of languages in their daily work. And here you have the spectrum of languages they encounter, reaching from Japanese, Chinese, Albanian, Pashto, Roma, Korean, Farsi, over to European languages such as Dutch and French and Italian. So there's a wide variety, and it's sometimes it meets the repertoire of the professionals, sometimes it doesn't, and that's why it's so important to keep up with language learning, to keep up with information on languages, but also to be on a meta level and talking with the parents. We also asked all the professionals what would be helpful in their future work, and more than half of them said, okay, we need more training. We would like to have more techniques, certain tools, certain material, and more supervision. So this goes very well together with the project, its aims, and also our output. And as we organize maybe events also with the professionals, there's a lot of exchange, something they also asked for. And what the project cannot offer, but many other events are case studies, and of course you have the literature. You get also introductions to languages and other cultures. And now I'd like to come to the end of this lesson, and what is very important for us is that the discussion doesn't stop here, and the research and the practical work doesn't stop here either. But we see that the survey of professionals that we did with them proved to be very relevant for the project and the development of the tool. We got quantitative but also qualitative in-depth insights into the daily reality of professionals who are working with multilingual families. What we need is a further discussion on the triangulation of quantitative and qualitative results, so how to put this all together. And yes, we also want to open up the terminology discussion, because sometimes the terminology is a different one. If you look at theory, if you look at practice and of research that's going on. And more research is needed on really defining what should be a proper terminology. And we're also discussing further ideas for our follow-up research and network projects, and would like to share your ideas and your needs with us. And as you know, you can always contact us at Tales at Home.